It took a very long time before the birth of the child that will soon challenge an entire empire. On June 19, 1861, Francisco Rizal Mercado and Teodoro Alonso E. Quintos welcomed their seventh child into the world at Calamba, Laguna, Philippines. During Rizal's birth, her mother nearly died in delivery because of his big head. It is also the reason why he is the center of ridicule when he is growing as a child. The Mercado family was wealthy farmers who rented land from the Dominican religious orders. Descendants of a Chinese immigrants named Domingo Lamco, they changed their name to Mercado under the pressure of anti-Chinese feelings amongst the Spanish colonizers. At a very young age, Rizal was frail, sickly, and an undersized kid, so he was given the tenderest care by his family, and Pasiano, his older brother, is the one who catered the best effort to guide our young hero. The first teacher of Jose Rizal was his mother, who was a remarkable woman of good character and fine culture. On her lap, he learned at the age of 3 the alphabet and the prayers. As a tutor, Doña Chodora was patient, conscientious, and understanding. It was she who first discovered that her son had a talent for poetry. Accordingly, she encouraged him to write poems, to lighten the monotony of memorizing the ABCs, and to stimulate her son's imagination. She related many stories. Rizal grew up as a good Catholic. At the age of 3, he began to take part in family prayers. He loves to go to church and he enjoys a great conversation with their town priests. When he was 5, he was able to read haltingly the Spanish family Bible. Father Lorenzo Lopez, the town priest, is one of the men that Rizal esteemed. He used to visit this learned Filipino priest and listen to his stimulating opinion on current events and sound philosophy of life. In order to support and continue his studies, young Pepe was sent to Binyan to have his formal education. His life in Binyan is simple and methodical. He attended a school under the ruling of a severe disciplinarian, Justiniano Aquino Cruz. There he experienced his first school brawl, painting lessons, and being the best student in his school. Jose beat all Binyan boys in academic studies, and he surpasses them in all Spanish, Latin, and other subjects. In 1872, Rizal's mother, Doña Chodora, was captured and accused for poisoning her sister-in-law in the side of the Albertos. Even though there aren't enough evidence, his mother was imprisoned and suffered being captive for a very long time. Jose Rizal was 11 when this incident happened. 1870, a certain event made a very big impact on the life of Jose Rizal. It is the execution of the martyred priest Gomburza. Gomburza is an acronym denoting the surnames of the priests Mariano Gomez, Jose Apolonio Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, three Filipino priests who were executed on 17th of February 1872 at Bagong Bayan in Manila. In aftermath of the mutiny, all Filipino soldiers were disarmed and later sent into exile in Mindanao. Those suspected of supporting the mutineers were arrested and executed. The mutiny was used by the Spanish colonial government and Spanish friars to implicate three Filipino priests, Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, collectively known as the Gomburza. Jose then enrolled at the Ateneo Municipal de Manila. At this time, it is the idea of his brother Pasiano to drop their family name Mercado and enrolls by the name of Jose Rizal because Mercado had come under suspicion of the Spanish authorities. Because of the condition of Doña Chodora's eyes, in 1878 he enrolled in the University of Santo Tomas as a medical student. At UST, he won more literary contests, but after 4 years at the University of Santo Tomas, he decided to leave, alleging discrimination against Filipino students by the Dominican professors. By this time, the cruelty and the wickedness of Spanish authorities are already exposed to our young hero. Even with doubts, after many talks and words of encouragement by his older brother Pasiano, Rizal was convinced to continue his study abroad. By the scholarship provided by the Governor-General Carlos Maria de la Torre, who is considered the most beloved of the Spanish governors-general ever assigned in the Philippines, Jose Rizal was given a chance and the opportunity to continue his studies and develop all of his knowledge in Spain. Both Jose and Pasiano predicted that his decision of studying abroad would not be favored by his parents. He did not ask their blessings, and aside from studying in Spain, he was on a secret mission. This mission was to observe keenly the life and the culture, the language, the customs, industries and commerce, and government and laws of the European nation in order to prepare himself in the great task of liberating his oppressed people from Spanish tyranny. Rizal's departure for Spain was kept secret to avoid detection by the Spanish authorities and friars. Even his own parents did not know because his mother would not allow him to do so. In Spain, he entered the Universidad Central de Madrid to study medicine. Aside from academics in Spain, he also studied painting and sculpture at the Academy of Arts of San Fernando as well as private lessons to learn French, German, and Spanish languages. To keep fit, he practiced fencing and shooting in the Hall of Arms of San E. Carbonell. In 1884, he graduates from Universidad Central de Madrid with a licentiate in medicine. The following year, studied and passed all subjects leading to his degree of Doctor in Medicine. Rizal was not alone abroad with the aim to liberate the Philippines. Along with his friends are Juan Luna, who was also greatly recognized abroad for his famous painting Polarium, and another genius person named Felix Resurrection Hidalgo. Jose Rizal did not stop on thinking ways on freeing our nation. With his companions, he knew back then that someday, one way or the other, our land will be free from the Spanish emperors that is tearing our whole nation down. In a reunion of Filipinos at the house of his friend Pedro A. Paterno in Madrid on June 2, 1884, Jose Rizal proposed the writing of a novel about the Philippines written by a group of Filipinos. His proposal was unanimously approved by the Filipinos present at the party, among whom were Pedro, Maximo, and Antonio Paterno, Graciano Lopez Jaena, Evaristo Aguirre, Eduardo Delete, Julio Llorente, and Valentin Ventura. After 2 years in Spain, Jose Rizal wrote his very first novel, Da Noli Me Tangere, conceived the idea of writing a novel that would expose the ills of Philippine society after reading Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin. He preferred that a perspective novel express the way Filipino culture was backward, anti-progress, anti-intellectual, and not conducive to the ideals of the Age of Enlightenment. He was then a student of medicine in the Universidad Central de Madrid. Ferdinand Blumentritt was a teacher, secondary school principal, lecturer, and author of articles and books in the Philippines and its ethnography. Blumentritt became one of Rizal's closest confidant, although they met only once. He translated the latter's first book, Noli Me Tangere, into German and wrote the preface of Rizal's second book, El Filibusterismo. Ferdinand Blumentritt was considered as brother of Jose Rizal when he was abroad. They used to exchange letters in different forms, and they also used to share their thoughts, their dreams, and their opinions and their views in many ways. Máximo S. Viola. As a medical student in Barcelona, Spain, he met Dr. Jose Rizal and became his close friend. He helped Rizal and other propagandists work for justices and changes in the government of the Philippines. It was a while traveling with Rizal in Europe that he learned Rizal needed money to publish the first novel, Noli Me Tangere. He offered to help Rizal, and 2,000 copies were printed in 1887. To thank him, Rizal gave him the very first published copy with dedication to my friend Maximo Viola, the first to read and appreciate my work. That will be on March 29 in 1887. After the first publication of his very first novel, Noli Me Tangere, Rizal was able to give and distribute some of the copies not only to his friends abroad but also to some of his very close friends here in the Philippines. Rizal was not only a person of intellect but also a true lover. Among some of his love encounters is Leonor Rivera. Leonor Rivera, his sweetheart for 11 years, played the greatest influence in keeping him from falling in love with other women during his travel. Unfortunately, Leonor's mother disapproved of her daughter's relationship with Rizal, who was then a known filibustero. She hid from Leonor all letters sent to her sweetheart. Leonor, believing that Rizal had already forgotten her, sadly consented her to marry the Englishman Henry, keeping her mother's choice. Another lady who Rizal used to love is Leonor Valenzuela, a tall girl from Pagsanhan. Rizal sent her love notes written in invisible ink that could only be depictured over the warmth of the lamp or with the use of the candle. He visited her on the eve of his departure to Spain to bid her last goodbye. During his travels abroad, he met a fair lady in London named Gertrude Beckett. A blue-eyed and buxom girl was the oldest of the three Beckett daughters. She fell in love with Rizal, but Rizal suddenly left London for Paris to avoid Gertrude, who was seriously in love with him. Rizal, having lost Leonor Rivera, entertained the thought of courting other ladies. In France, he met Nelly Bosted. Their love affair unfortunately did not end in marriage. It failed because Rizal refused to be converted in the Protestant faith. The lovers, however, parted as good friends when Rizal left Europe. Segunda Katigbak was her puppy love. Unfortunately, his first love was engaged to be married to a townmate, Manuel Luz. Rizal came to know Segunda more intimately during his weekly visit to La Concordia College, where his sister Olympia was a boarding student. Olympia was a close friend of Segunda. That was apparent that Rizal and Segunda loved each other. In 1890, Rizal moved to Brussels because of the high living costs in Paris. In Brussels, he lived in the boarding house of two Jacobi sisters. In time, they fell deeply in love with each other. Suzanne cried when Rizal left Brussels and wrote to him when he was in Madrid. Osei-san, a Japanese samurai's daughter, taught Rizal the Japanese art of painting known as sumi. She also helped Rizal improve his knowledge of Japanese language. If Rizal was a man without patriotic mission, he would have married this lovely and intelligent woman and live a stable and happy life with her in Japan because the Spanish legation there offered him a lucrative job. Because of the cruelty and wickedness of Spanish friars, a certain newspaper under La Solidaridad had emerged. Through this, Rizal managed to create articles about his fight against the church and the Spanish authorities. He hid under the pseudonym Laon Laan. La Solidaridad was an organization created in Spain on December 13, 1888, composed of Filipino liberals exiled in 1872 and students attending Europe's universities. The organization aimed to increase Spanish awareness of the needs of its colony, the Philippines, and to propagate a closer relationship between the colony and Spain. While living in Hong Kong, Rizal conceived the idea of establishing a civic association composed of Filipinos, with the aim to the union of archipelago, defense against all violence, mutual protection in all cases, encouragement of education, and study of application of reforms. Among the members of the Liga Filipina are Ladislao Diwa, Dato Arellano, and Andres Bonifacio, who later played an important role in founding the Katipunan, a more advanced and revolutionary movement. By this organization, the Spanish friars gained more fury about the activities and affiliations of Jose Rizal. It seems like Rizal was unstoppable in writing that time. It was 4 years after the publication of Noli Me Tangere. He pursued to finish his second novel, the El Filibusterismo. And the creation of this artistic work just multiplied the anger of the Spanish government to him that later caused him to be sent in exile. Four days after the civic organization's foundation, Jose Rizal was arrested by the Spanish authorities on four grounds. Number 1, for publishing anti-Catholic and anti-friars books and articles. Number 2, for having in possession of bundles of Pobres Frailes. Number 3, for dedicating his novel El Filibusterismo to the Gomburza. Number 4, for simply criticizing the religion and aiming for its exclusion from the Filipino culture. In Dapitan, Rizal had scholarly debate with Father Pablo Pastels regarding religion. This exchange of heated arguments revealed the anti-Christian Rizal, his bitterness on the abuses performed by friars, doing such under the name of the sacred religion. Father Pastels tried his best to win Rizal back to his faith, but unfortunately, in vain. This series of debate ended inconclusively, in which neither of them conceived of other of his judgments or arguments. Because of this, a plot for a grave danger on Jose Rizal's life has been established. Rizal had maximized his stay in Dapitan by devoting much of his time in improving his artistic and literary skills, doing agricultural and civic projects, engaging in business and activities, and writing letters to his friends in Europe, particularly to Ferdinand Blumentritt. As a physician, Rizal provided free medical assistance to his patients. Most of them were underprivileged. However, he also had wealthy patients who paid him well enough for his excellent surgical skills. As a scientist, Rizal shared his interest with nature to his students. With his boys, they explored the jungles and searched for specimens which he sent to museums in Europe, particularly in Dresden Museum. In return, scientific books and surgical instruments were delivered to him from European scientists. He also made a bulk of other researches and studies in fields of ethnography, archaeology, geology, anthropology, and geography. 3 rare specimens of animals discovered by Rizal earned him high praises from European scientists who named them in his honor: the Draco rizali, a small lizard popularly known as the flying dragon; Apugania rizali, a rare kind of beetle; and the Rhacoporus rizali, a peculiar frog species. When Jose Rizal was exiled in Dapitan, Father Sanchez was sent by his Jesuit superiors to try to reform his former students' radical stance toward the Catholic religion and the Spanish religious in the Philippines. Through and up, there were a series of long conversations, debates, and heated arguments between mentors and students, which resulted in Father Sanchez failing to convince Rizal. But mutual admiration never won. Together, they did expedition around the Pitan collecting scientific specimens in the area. The Jesuit priest happens to be the curator of the Ateneo Museum during that time, so most specimens collected made their way to the Jesuit Museum. Jose Rizal's skill was put into test in August 1893 when his mother, Doña Chodora Alonso, was placed under ophthalmic surgery for the third time. The operation was a success, however, Alonso ignored her son's instruction and removed the bandages in her eyes, which led to irritation and infection. In the last days of February 1895, while still in Dapitan, Rizal met an 18-year-old petite Irish girl with a bold blue eyes, brown hair, and a happy disposition. She was Josephine Bracken, the adopted daughter of George Toffer from Hong Kong, who came to Dapitan to seek Rizal for eye treatment. Rizal was physically attracted to her. His loneliness and boredom must have taken the measure of him, and what could be a better diversion than to fall in love again? But the Rizal sisters suspected Josephine as an agent of the friars, and they considered her as a threat to Rizal's security. Rizal asked Josephine to marry him, but she was not yet ready to make a decision due to her responsibility to the blind Toffer. Since Toffer's blindness was untreatable, he left for Hong Kong on March 1895. Josephine stayed with Rizal's family in Manila. Upon her return to Dapitan, Rizal tried to arrange with Father Antonio Obac for their marriage. However, the priest wanted a retraction as a precondition before marrying them. Rizal, upon the advice of his family and friends and with Josephine's consent, took her as a wife even without the church blessings. Josephine later gave birth prematurely to a stillborn baby. Jose Rizal was arrested en route to Cuba, imprisoned in Montjuic Castle, Barcelona, and sent back to Manila to stand trial. He was implicated in the revolution through his association with members of the Katipunan. During the entire passage, he was unchained, no Spaniards laid a hand on him, and had many opportunities to escape but refused to do so. While imprisoned in Fort Santiago, he issued a manifesto disavowing the current revolution in its present state and declaring that the education of Filipinos and their achievements of a national identity were prerequisite to freedom. Jose Rizal was only 35 years old when his last day came. Moments before his execution by a squad of Filipino soldiers of the Spanish Army, a backup force of regular Spanish Army troops stood ready to shoot the executioners should they fail to obey orders. The Spanish Army Surgeon General requested to take his pulse. It was normal. Aware of this, the surgeon commanding the backup force hushed his men to silence when they began raising vivas with a highly partisan crowd of Peninsular and Mestizo Spaniards. His undated poem, Mi Ultimo Adios, believed to be written on the day before his execution, was hidden in an alcohol stove, which was later handed to his family with his few remaining possessions, including the final letters and his last Bacchus. During their visit, Rizal reminded his sister in English there is something inside it, referring to the alcohol stove given by the Pardo de Taveras, which has to be returned after his execution, thereby emphasizing the importance of the poem. Dr. Jose Rizal will never die in vain. We should always treasure and owe him our freedom and sovereignty. His passion for knowledge, art, and freedom opened the eyes of each and every Filipinos to stand for the truth, stand for their country, and stand for each and every citizens of this nation. It is just a right that Jose Rizal is remembered today throughout the Philippines for his brilliance, his courage, his peaceful resistance to tyranny, and his compassion. The Philippine archipelago was able to defeat the Spanish army. The Philippines declared its independence from Spain on June 12, 1898, and it was the first democratic republic in the Asia. It is believed that people all over the world and in the Philippines could emulate a person such as Jose Rizal. He had such passion for life and the well-being of his country people. He dedicated his life to learn about various ways of thinking matters and qualities of people. He created a more compassionate person. You can definitely see the love for his country through his poems and writings. Even at the river with his brother and the story of the Chinelas, he conceptualizes that there is something bigger than him. He is indeed a man of strong ideas while favoring peaceful reforms. He is a true bayani. His accomplishments to improve the Philippines without holding a weapon has truly left a memorable legacy.